Hello everybody, and welcome to Readings from the Book of Freedom. I'm Father Freedom. And this is episode 2, Supper Time. In the Book of Freedom, what we have a lot of is a lot about eating good food and eating soul food. For example, we have Jesus in the middle here, obviously the host, and we have people around him, his friends, probably brought some dishes to that supper as a potluck style kind of dinner, but I do love this piece. What we will find today in the Book of Supper, in the Book of Freedom, pardon me, we will be looking at how to hold a dinner party or a supper party in relation to the Book of Freedom and the outline and the schema that Jesus had left for us to have a successful party. And 2, we'll be looking at typical dishes you would bring to a party, parties with friends, parties with parents, elder folks, distinguished leaders of our own government. What would you serve at that kind of party? These are questions that Jesus does in fact answer in the Book of Freedom. And number 3 is we'll be talking about the effects of a party. The effects of a supper late in the night and a supper earlier in the day. So the first piece we're going to be looking at, as I mentioned, the host. What we find in Genesis 18:8 is, open up your book, the New International works as well. So Genesis 18:8, everybody. He then brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared, and set these before them. While they were ate, he stood near them under a tree. So what we have here from the first clause is our host, our unknown host, could be Jesus. It is his book. He's bringing curds and milk to the party. So this is our first documented historical documentation of a host taking that initial action. It's not a collective action of everybody bringing ingredients and making a dish or anything like that. This is one man taking cheese, milk, curds, and putting them under the tree. We don't know his motive for that exactly, but we know it was for a party. So that's our host for the supper time. The idea of the host, preparing things beforehand and setting them out on the table like you would set the table. Our next example is what you would drink at a party, at a supper time party. And this comes from Esther 5:6. Perfect. Esther was known for his documentations of supper. In fact, he did imbibe a little too far, in my opinion, but what we'll find in Esther 5:6 is maybe just the opposite. As they were drinking wine, the king again asked Esther, "Now what is your petition? It will be given to you. And what is your request? Even up to half the kingdom it will be granted." So this goes against the notion of some stereotypes of the supper. We find a lot of people overindulge in what they're drinking, be it coolers, beer, you got you have whiskey and wine, even soda. You can go over that limit. You can cross that threshold, and you can have negative reactions from the groups you're around with, depending on the energy of your party. But what we find in Esther 5:6 is just the opposite. Esther, from attending these parties, having a good record in the community, being there all the time, he was offered the kingdom, in fact. And what we find here is breaking these barriers of the supper as we know it. So wine, drink your wine. A perfect example of, okay, music. We love music. Everybody knows that. That's why you're watching this here video. A little side note, I just got word from Tod that Trent Bradley is working on his first solo album. Shouts out to Trent. So we're hopefully I'll be on a guest on that. We don't know yet, and I'd like him to do his own route. Music. In Isaiah 5:12, just beautiful. They have harps and lyres at their banquets, pipes and timbrels and wine, but they have no regard for the deeds of the Lord, no respect for the work of his hands. Okay here, music. We all love music. We know it can be taken too far or not far enough on the spectrum, moderate if you will. But what Isaiah is kind of commenting on here at one of the parties that Esther was obviously not at. Esther would have kind of had a different interpretation and would have motivated the energies in that party. Isaiah says, okay, they're making this great music, but nothing's going up to the Lord. I have a lot of issues with the people that were in Isaiah 5:12, that start in Isaiah 5:12. You're making music with your friends, you're having wine, got pipes, timbrels, lyres, and Isaiah's just sitting back. He's just sitting back like, whoa, there's nothing up for the Lord, and if there's nothing for the Lord, it ain't music. I'll just say right there. I feel really strongly with Isaiah. I think I'm kind of an Isaiahist in a lot of ways because of this piece. And the last piece, just to keep this episode short, we will be having more of a video emphasis, folks. Last weekend, Ty was out in Florida filming a little top secret piece that you will see later. Okay, this is about drunkenness. Let's just put it on the table, folks. I like to drink. I like my beer, I like my whiskey, and I like my women too. But drunkenness, it can become an issue in family circles. Outside of that, you got your friends. Outside of that, you got acquaintances. Outside of that, you got leaders of government. I think a lot of people can see your drunkenness as a negative when you see it as a positive. So there's this misinterpretation of a balance. It's not there. So Samuel 25:36 is the last sentence, not 35 but 36. When Abigail went to Nabal, he was in the house hiding a banquet like that of a king. He was in high spirits and very drunk. So she told him nothing at all until daybreak. So what we have with Samuel and Abigail, Abigail and Nabal, pardon me, is he's too drunk. He's at this banquet. He's probably eating a whole lot of food, stuffing his mouth like a squirrel before winter. And Abigail notices, oh great, he's in high spirits and all, but I'm not going to tell him anything factually. I'm not going to give him any real info because he's not going to remember in the morning. The only thing he's going to know is a little headache in the head, and that sure doesn't go away until you get a good meal ready and all that hangover food. I love that whole... I love hangover food, all the people that love all that kind of food, hangover food. I think that's kind of funny because it's like, oh, I got this bad old hangover and give me a whole lot of good food, just all in one. I like what people are doing with a lot of the cuisine these days, and just, this is hangover food, this is playtime food, this is hanging out with your friends food, this is game day food. That's been like for a long time, but saying hangover food, I think that's new to generation. I love that a lot. So I'm gonna end with Daniel, of course. Daniel's he was more elevated than I think Samuel was personally, and this is called the writing on the wall, of course. King Belshazzar gave a great banquet for 1,000 of his nobles and drank wine with them. While Belshazzar was drinking his wine, he gave orders to bring him the gold and silver goblets that Nebuchadnezzar, mentioned in the first episode, his father had taken from a temple in Jerusalem, so that the king and his nobles, his wives and his concubines might drink from them, period. So they brought in the gold goblets that had been taken from the temple of God in Jerusalem. I would have stopped right there. I just would have stopped right there. Give him something to cry about. And the king and his nobles, his wives and his concubines, drank from it. As they drank from the wine, they praised the gods of gold and silver, bronze, iron, wood, stone. You can just stop there. What we have here is pure heresy, pure hereticism, if you will. Taking these goblets, gold cups from Jerusalem, the holy temple, the pantry, if you will, of Jerusalem. You got famous goblets coming out of there. You got plates, silverware, some of the best actually, and Daniel does affirm that. He did actually take a good inventory back in his time of what they did have in the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. And what you find, there's some good oven pans for roasting vegetables. They even had some advanced kind of sifting and for boiling pasta, and you put the thing in the water and the water goes down. They were innovators of cuisine technology in the kitchen. Beside the point, what we have here is drinking from the gold goblets from the temple of God, and drinking the blood of Christ, and in vain, not in jest, but they were drinking in vain. Christ wasn't there. Christ's blood wasn't spilled yet, of course. But what we find from Daniel is that these people didn't have permission from the Lord to be drinking from. They didn't get orders from the Lord to say, "Hey, drink this wine. Drink this wine. I'll give you permission to drink this wine." He didn't do anything of the sort. Christ was busier with other things, talking to his dad. They praise the gods of silver and gold. I'm afraid that doesn't exist, folks. So Daniel closes up the piece, beginning front to back, beautiful piece, writing on the wall. It's a lot of metaphors for well, you get the point. Writing on the wall, you wouldn't write on a wall. That's a problem to begin with, unless you're writing Holy Scripture, of course. So they praise the gods of gold and silver and bronze, iron, wood and stone. I have a problem with the wood and stone part, because that is a lot of the foundations of earlier society. So if you were to pray to wood, pray to stone, pray to a quarry, pray to a tree, redwoods out of California, never been up there, but I've seen a lot of postcards from there. Beautiful stuff. Daniel makes a good point here, is what I'm trying to say. And it does round up the concept of supper that we've been talking about in today's episode. You got your drunkenness, you got your wine, and you got how to be a host. Message in the comments below about how I can better up these episodes, or butter them up, butter up the episodes, get them nice and sweet for you guys. Because this is new technology I am dealing with, and I just want to make sure my angles are right and everything like that, the shadows, the lights. So what can I say? I say thanks. Thanks for the album, everybody. You can see me live interface now, of course. And yeah, this is episode 2, Supper. Couldn't get more better than that. Any video responses, please put them down in the comment section. Subscribe in the I think it's the left subscribe. Todd really does need those subscribers, folks, and it does give a little bit of money for videos. So thanks. Father Freedom signing out. See you next time.